Hello, this is Mesh, and welcome to a review of Annihilation. So this movie came out in the movies on 23rd of February 2018, but it came out on Netflix in early March 2018. So this is a spoiler-free review, so if you haven't watched it yet, this may help you decide to watch it or perhaps skip this movie. One indicator I use in regards to movies, TV shows that I watch, or even books that I read, on gauging how good the story is, or how well the story is told, or how impactful it is delivered. Do I think about the story the next day? Do I keep pondering over plot lines, thinking about the story, thinking about specific scenes that were so impactful that I replay them over and over in my mind? And I will admit, for this movie, I have thought a fair few times about it. But the areas that seem to be memorable for me is specifically the environment they're in, and the resulting impact to the characters in the environment. I can't say any more around that because I'll start spoiling the story for you if you still haven't watched it, but definitely that has resonated with me. Now I'll just cover some quick positives and negatives, being obviously vague around specific points, and then just summarize. So positives with this movie. So the environment was stunning and also very eerie. So it was very beautiful and also very well crafted, but you were constantly on edge from start to finish. So the CG in this movie was top notch. A real seamless integration as well between the props and the sets and the CG. It was very nice. The story, it has a few different levels to it. On the surface, the obvious situation that our protagonists are dealing with. And then there is underlying stories around a few characters as well. I think this could definitely do with a second watch to really extrapolate down on some of those character-specific storylines. So the premise as well, I did like it. So around the situation they find themselves in. Obviously, if you've watched the trailer, you can see that they're in an area which is under investigation, and it's called the Shimmer. So the Shimmer itself and the mystery surrounding that, I did think that was well delivered. So the idea, whilst it has been done before, I mean, the whole idea of the whole movie is interesting, circumstance, and it is intriguing. Okay, so now onto some negative points. There's only a couple here, but they are quite big. So I found the character development for some of the characters was quite undercooked. So not enough in there really to really get behind the character and care on the outcome of that character. Underutilized environments. As I mentioned, the situation and the environment was the star of the show for me. But I think they could have used it a lot more. So a lot more interaction with it on both a positive and negative side as well. So and a positive side is of amazement of this environment they're in, but also as a horror angle, which they could have pushed the boundaries a little bit more. A little bit disappointed that they didn't, but I was still happy with the use of it. A bigger team that went into the Shimmer. So that for me would have been a really good step. So more characters in the Shimmer having these effects, and obviously you can get more stories in there, and more situations. So that would have been pretty cool. So now here's probably the bigger one, is that there is a few plot holes within the story. Also around the character behavior. So those two, for me, they really go hand in hand. So around the character behavior and the plot holes. And I think often we need to use this suspension of disbelief. And I've seen a few reviewers mention this as well, how the selection of the team is unrealistic, the behavior of the team is unrealistic, and part of me definitely agrees. It is unrealistic, but so is the whole premise of the movie. But sometimes when I say we need to have that suspension of disbelief, it's the end needs to justify the means. So sometimes the character selection that we're given here, so the characters in the movie, there's a reason they're there. The story, there's a goal for them. There's a moral here. There's some reason that they have been selected. Ideally, it's not always perfect, but we need these characters to prove that point. Could there have been more characters within the show? Definitely. Once again, I did think it was a silly idea, but for me, I didn't dwell on it. I thought it was a silly idea a little bit, and I moved on because I kept going with the story. But I agree. Having a larger cast, having a larger contingent investigate the Shimmer would have been a lot better. But that's purely my perspective. And that's probably because I think you could have got a lot more action sequences out of that circumstance if you increased the team size. But hey, I didn't make this movie. This is someone else's vision. That's my point here, as I followed along on their vision of what they were trying to represent. It has been interesting to read the reviews. It's a very divisive movie. It seems a lot of people either love it or hate it, and I can see both sides to that perspective. Parts of the movie did annoy me, as I mentioned. The bad decisions of the characters are quite annoying, and the odd flawed plot point as well. But also, a lot of it was impressive, and I did enjoy it. So I was going to summarize here before I go any further down that rabbit hole of the topic around perspectives and should a director have done what I wanted as opposed to what they wanted. Anyway, so my summary of this movie. I did enjoy this movie. It was definitely slow. It had a lot of intense scenes and creepy scenes. And throughout the whole movie, I was feeling uncomfortable and uneasy because of where the characters were and the circumstance they were in. For me, the star of the show was definitely the environment. The acting, there was some good acting, but then there was a little bit of hit and miss every now and again, but I didn't pick up on it too much. For the most part, I thought it was okay. If you like creepy, mysterious sci-fi movies, this might be worth a watch for you. This movie is once again generally quite slow, so if you're wanting an action-packed roller coaster movie, this is not the one for you. But what I will say is I will aim to do a spoiler breakdown of this movie, as I think there's definitely some areas that need to be mentioned, some theories we can get out of it, and some flaws that I would like to raise that I think are quite valid going forward as well. So if you want to catch that next review, so subscribe to the channel and you'll get notified on that. And also there's some TV shows coming out in the next few months that I will try to cover as well. But for now I shall leave this review here. So if you did enjoy this movie, leave me some feedback below, let me know your thoughts. But until next time, this is Mesh, and I'll see you later.